Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome to the final video of 2021 as we prepare for a new year filled with an insane amount of monster taming content. That said, it is important to take a look back and appreciate what came before, and let me just say that 2021 was a crazy year for both my channel and the genre, with tons of major releases, Kickstarters, overall news coverage, etc. The goal of this video is to brief everyone on the year as a whole. What we're going to be doing today is going through each and every month and discuss some major developments accordingly. This includes Kickstarter launches, game releases, whether they be alpha, beta, early access, or full launch, major developments in the genre as it pertains to coverage from the outside, and stuff like that. That said, after you're done watching, let me know what the monster taming games of the year are for you. We had a ton that popped this year, so I'm definitely curious to see what everyone's picks are in the comments below. And with that, let's dive in. Alright, so before we jump in, do note that we will be going through each development somewhat quickly due to the sheer amount of stuff that went down this year. So if you want any additional information about any of these games, I'm going to list them all off in the description in the order of this video, so you can do additional research if you wish. Anyways, let's jump into January. Alright, so in terms of new releases and major developments in the genre as a whole, January was actually quite slow, which is to be expected coming off the holiday season. I personally was most busy with Monster Sanctuary and Myth on Island coverage at this time, but it wouldn't be until January 19th that we got our first major splash and a real game changer in the Nexomon Extinction custom mode update, which included a wide variety of new features for Nexomon Extinction as far as custom playthroughs, randomizers, nuzlocks, and stuff like that is concerned. No longer do you have to have a modded Switch or an emulator to play a nuzlocke mode of a game. Now it's built in, which is amazing, and throughout the year we'd see Monster Crown and Coromon also adopt a custom mode into their games as well, not to mention the already existing upcoming titles that were full-scale nuzlocke inspired games, but nevertheless, this acted as one of the first monster taming titles to actually implement this system. The month also brought forth the Ova Magica Kickstarter, which is a monster raising and farming sim where you can breed, hatch, and even fuse blobs together and then utilize them in combat. The game also features character relationships and overall gives me those Animal Crossing meets Stardew Valley meets Pokemon type vibes. The Kickstarter launch and subsequent finale was extremely successful, with the game crushing all of its major goals, getting funded on February 26th, raising 258,000 euros of its 20,000 euro goal. The game is still in development now and is planned for a 2023 launch. In February, we saw a wide array of different types of monster taming games emerge, with the first being the Xenoscape demo, which was released on the 5th. Now, Xenoscape is very unlike most other monster taming games in that it allows you to create a party of monsters, but instead of using them to fight in turn-based combat, you'd instead utilize them in this crazy bullet hell setting. Each monster comes with its own unique abilities, and there's a heck of a lot going on screen. A few days later, the Skyclimbers Kickstarter would launch, and this game really made a splash because firstly, it looks really cool, but secondly, it was a game planned for all consoles, including mobile, and has a plethora of monsters and features to explore, hence the excitement. The game features real-time third-person combat, with the monsters acting more like companions, but will also feature an RTS mode, a city builder, as well as a plethora of other features, and plans on focusing on player choice, not forcing the player to focus on any specific mechanic, but allowing them to explore the world as they please. The game was going for $25,000 US, but ended up securing $340,000, absolutely crushing its goal. Honestly, during this window of time, it was a great time to be a monster developer with these Kickstarters. Later this month, on the 18th, Nuumonsters, a more classic-styled monster tamer, would make its way into early access, and of course, would receive several subsequent updates even to this day. But at the time it launched, and this game is basically a typical monster taming RPG, this time inspired by the Game Boy Color style of graphics, and the premise is that Nuumonsters is an AR game and people are all out playing it, almost like Pokemon Go but with better AR, and you can battle opponents and raise your elo to become the best in the game. So it's like a game within a game type thing. Later that month, we also saw the release of Geneforge 1 Mutagen, a remake to the original Geneforge title, which is one of 5 iterations, and basically is like your old school computer RPG type games, with this game's main caveat being the fact that you can summon monsters to fight for you on a grid. So it's kind of like a tactical RPG, so if you are a fan of those types of games, you might want to check it out. And we can't forget the biggest controversy of the month being the BDSP announcement, aka Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, which sent the Pokemon community into a frenzy, with people arguing about chibis and lack of upgrades from the original Diamond and Pearl, and all in all, it was quite the aggressive time to say the least. This upset would further pique interest for non-Pokemon monster taming games as well, but not to the same degree that we saw with Sword and Shield's controversies. Over to March, we had a few game launches in the early access stage, the first of which was Cerealum Ultimate, a dungeon-crawling, monster-taming RPG with fusion mechanics, infinite level caps, over 1,000 monsters, and more. We also saw the release of Malice and Greed on the 22nd, which was a Shin Megami Tensei and Slay the Spire sort of fusion type game, basically taking roguelike elements and adding them to an SMT combat system with its own unique twist as well. And we even saw the release of Ento Drive, an early access title, which was a 2.5D monster taming RPG with turn-based combat and a story revolving around AR monsters essentially coming into the real world. We also got the reveal of Gremlin's Tale, at the time just dubbed Gremlins, which is an open world monster taming game with real-time combat in these crazy group style fights. The game itself takes inspiration from fairy tales and would continue to give developer updates almost weekly from this point in time. And finally for this month, the Necromancer's Gift Kickstarter would also take place and would subsequently get funded at 5 times its goal, asking for 5,000 Canadian and instead receiving 26,000 Canadian. The game is a roguelite monster tamer where you're trapped in the Necromancer's lair and must traverse various paths in order to escape and save your dog. April brought forth a few more updates, including Monster Sanctuary's 1.1 update, which added New Game Plus, difficulty options, and stuff like that, and was definitely something that a lot of people were looking forward to and was exciting all around. We also got the Temtem Sipanko update, which Temtem's a game in the genre that's quite known given its release around the boom of the genre itself, but this update brought forth the 5th Temtem Island with a plethora of digital and electric Temtem as well. The Chain Monsters Alpha, another monster taming MMO in the works, also launched this month, albeit in a very simplistic state, and would get updated multiple times throughout the year until it hit its 7th iteration as the months went on. But in this state, you had the ability to battle and complete a few quests. We also had 2 Kickstarters this month, both of which were funded. The first being Mithrin, a monster taming and raising sim, similar to a game like Monster Rancher with elements from Persona, which ended up raising $42,000 of its $40,000 goal, just narrowly making it. And the second was Monster Tribe, which launched 2 days later. And this game is an open world pixel art monster taming RPG with turn-based combat that involves a 6-tile grid system. This game was also funded, obtaining $19,439 of its $15,000 goal. And at this point in the genre, it seemed that Kickstarters were starting to just get funded, so I think the month-to-month Kickstarters kind of left people's wallets a little bit empty. Alright, so May was actually a slower month in general. First, we had the release of Patch Quest Early Access, which, might I just say, is a super fun roguelike bullet hell with monster riding as a main focus. And we also had the release of Shin Megami Tensei 3 Remastered, which is definitely pretty cool if you've never played an SMT title before, and would eventually act as a precursor to SMT 5, which we'll talk about later. We also had the Laxadays Kickstarter, which is a social sim and third-person shooter with monster taming elements in a 3D cyberpunk-esque environment. This game roughly got $93,000 out of its $25,000 goal at the end of its campaign, which, much like other games this year, crushed it. June was E3, so of course we had some big news, the first of which actually shook the world outside of the monster taming bubble, that being Pal World, this third-person shooter slash farming slash monster tamer slash monster enslavement simulator being developed by the Craftopia devs, and needless to say, it did make a ton of buzz being dubbed as the Pokemon Gun version, with some saying it's purposely provocative and others being actually quite excited for the game. Other than that, we also had 2 really big shockwaves from games that have built a strong reputation in the genre, the first being the Coromon Switch announcement and the confirmation that it will be coming out in Q1 of 2022. I don't think anyone needs an explanation on what Coromon is, nor will they about the next game because of their popularity within the genre. But we also got the Nexomon Abyssals content update trailer, which is slated for any day now as of the time of recording. But these 2 games have definitely made their place in the monster taming genre and are great beginner type games for people who maybe you want to try something different from Pokemon. The Eternal Exodus Alpha also came out this month, which is an SMT-like monster taming RPG where you play as a character in the afterlife whom can tame and utilize demons in combat against your foes. Very similar to SMT in various ways, such as a combat system and fusion mechanic, but also has its own spin to offer. Now, July was actually pretty slow in terms of the wealth of news, but Monster Hunter Stories 2 Wings of Ruin caused another spike in interest in the genre from the outside, with a lot of people comparing it to Pokemon Sword and Shield and causing more controversy as a result. Regardless of people fighting over Pokemon and Monster Hunter, it was a very fun monster taming RPG with a semi-open world and a ton of cool mechanics, so you can just enjoy it for that as well. We also got the full launch of Abomination on Steam, a monster taming roguelike inspired by Nuzlocke and randomizers, allowing you to cater your playthrough to your own style and giving you a fresh and new experience each and every time. This is another fun title I really recommend checking out. August was another quiet month. Actually, looking back, I never uploaded a this month in monster taming video for August or July because of how quiet things were. That would change, however, because we had a surprise announcement or re-announcement of Doki V, with the game rebranding itself from an MMO to an action-adventure title with almost Monster Hunter-like combat with added companions called Dokubi that can fight alongside the player. We also saw the release of 2 farming-type games with monster taming elements, the first being Serene Fate on August 25th, which is a top-down real-time game where you could utilize magic to cast spells and summon monsters to fight for you. And we also saw Monster Harvest, a Stardew Valley inspired farming sim with monster taming in the form of turn-based battles via the game's randomized dungeons. I'd say this game and the previous were kind of light on the monster taming, but still worth noting. We also saw the Untamed Isles Kickstarter, which is a monster taming MMO with turn-based combat and a plethora of dynamic monsters that can swap limbs and stuff like that. It also has instance battling, voice proximity chat, and more, so I'm definitely excited to try this one out. And it ended up raising $840,000 New Zealand of its $200,000 New Zealand goal. Things would seriously start to ramp up in September and not stop until where we are now, so I've got to go even faster at this point. Firstly, the Necromancer's Gift Alpha would launch, however, it's NDA, so we could not stream it or play it on the channel. We also got the release of Nexomon 1 on consoles, which Nexomon has been quite the gateway drug, so to speak, for Pokemon fans to enter the monster taming genre, so making it more accessible definitely helped drive up other games as well. I'm not even kidding when I say this, so many people have told me that they came here for Nexomon but are now enjoying all of these other titles. So this re-release of the first title for other consoles besides mobile and Steam was definitely a major event for the month. We also saw a major patch quest update which added 2 zones this month and the release of the Monster Tribe Alpha as well. And we got a big announcement this month that Monster Sanctuary would in fact be getting its own DLC called The Forgotten World, which is free and slated for sometime next year. In October, we got the final Stardust Alpha, which was a game that we mentioned in last year's version of this video, but basically it's a Golden Sun, Pokemon, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Inspired RPG that utilizes a card system in battle. Alpha was pretty clean, not gonna lie. We also got the Beasties demo in October, which is a match 3 monster taming title, sort of like Candy Crush, but with monster battles. We also got Rainbow Billy and the Curse of the Leviathan, which would release the next day, which is a 2.5 monster taming and platforming title, where you must restore color to this very cute and old school cartoon-inspired world. We then had the launch of Monster Crown a few days later, which did have its own issues at launch with bugs and such, but has been steadily improving since. The game is an RPG with monster fusion, monster crossbreeding, turn-based combat, a system similar to Mega Evolution, and a ton more. The day after that, we had Bot World Adventure, a robot taming game that would launch worldwide on mobile. This is another pretty big title in and of itself with 1 million downloads and is free to play too on Android and iOS. It's actually pretty fun. We then had the finale of the Eternal Exodus Kickstarter campaign, which unfortunately did not get funded. However, the game is still being made, but I'd assume certain localizations may not be possible due to the funding limitations, because that was one of the major reasons for the Kickstarter. And finally, for the month, we got confirmation that Digimon Survive would be delayed once again till 2022. What a crazy month with updates, eh? Alright, don't let November fool you with its lack of overall updates compared to October, because SMT5 launched, which fans have been waiting for since 2017. This game was an absolute pleasure to play through and to enjoy, whether it be its clean combat, its fusion, its miracle system, or overworld mechanics. This game was sick by all accounts, and honestly has me wanting to play every other SMT title as well. Again, big monster taming game for the year in my opinion. Speaking of which, a week later, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl would launch, and again, a controversy ensued because the game did not feature pretty much any Platinum content and also did away with the complexity behind its contests and had some other systems that were seemingly cut or left in a reduced state. So a lot of people, of course, were upset. Even people defending the lack of polish and glitches and soft locks were like, nah, I liked it, so that's pretty much it. But yeah, the games definitely kind of just came and went and didn't really stick around for too long. I personally played them, wasn't a huge fan, but it is what it is. You win some, you lose some. At the end of the month, we had the Cubers Alpha, which is a monster taming and battling arena game where you can fight in real-time combat. This game will also be free, and you can check it out now. It's actually a ton of fun. And finally, we got December. At the beginning of the month, we saw the full access launch of Cerealum Ultimate, which we did discuss with its early access launch earlier. We then saw a new kinfolk for Kindred Fates make its way to the fray, that being Salamurder, the game's first water-type kinfolk. Kindred Fates also played a pretty big role last year with its Kickstarter and Alpha as well, if you want to check out that video. The Chain Monsters beta also launched, sprouting a fully 3D art style and monsters. We then got the Monster Rancher 1 and 2 DX remakes, which of course were remakes of the original Monster Rancher 1 and 2, which in my opinion is a huge development because originally these remasters were Japan only, and I think Japanese devs are starting to see that yes, there is a market for these games in the West, so perhaps we could see returns from other franchises that have pulled out, like Monster Rancher, or maybe even Medabots, and fingers crossed, Yokai Watch. We also got the Temtem Arbory update, which brought forth the final roster of Temtem minus 1 legendary and the 6th island, which leads into the climax and finale for the game. And finally, last but not least, we got the Drugimon Alpha, a dank monster taming RPG where you fight other drug users with your Drugimon, because drugs are only okay when you're using them to fight. But there you go, guys, a massive video to put together, especially since I upload every single day. I do hope I got all of the major developments. I definitely couldn't cover every single thing that happened, but I think this is a pretty good list. This year was honestly amazing, both for my channel and the genre as a whole. We've managed to grow from roughly 9,600 subscribers at the beginning of 2021 to over 23,000. And honestly, I can't say thank you guys enough. You guys seriously keep me going each and every day, and this channel has truly become like one giant sexy family, and I can't wait to keep it up for you guys in 2022. Happy New Year's, everyone, and for the last time in 2021, if you do like what you see, please subscribe to the channel because I post new monster taming videos every single day. You can also check out my Twitter, Discord, and Patreon, which will all be linked below. Speaking of patrons, thank you so much to Jim Hamilton and StealCase especially, whom are our mythical backers. Until next time, peace.